How can I help?
Yeah, can you say and spell your first and last, and then tell me what your title is?
Yeah, so my name is Benjamin Hansen. That's Benjamin. Last name is Hansen, Hansen. I am the WE minor chair in economics and the department head of economics at the University of Oregon.
So, what I'm trying to understand today is how much impact can a 1 day general strike have, and what does it depend on?
All right. So if you look at general strikes like in history, there's been several really big ones. There was, the railroad one first in like 1877. There was some later ones that happened in Seattle and San Francisco and in Oakland. And I think they all had varying long-term impacts. If you were to look at, more recent times, it's tough to come up with something that's like the right analogy for what's happening today. In part that this is not targeting a specific employment sector, right? It's not targeting a specific economic industry. Instead, it's asking everybody countrywide to change what they do for a day. And I think the closest analogy for the economic impact that it will have is it'll be a lot like an extreme weather event. And so there is, a decently large literature in economics and also in the environmental sciences literature about the impacts of extreme weather events. And now we have enough high frequency data that we can, say exactly how do people change where they are in response to, a crazy ice storm coming to Portland or coming to Eugene. And then we can even see how does it change how much people are spending, how does it change how people are using their phones or what they're watching on the internet. Like there's all this rich data available, so we can actually answer a lot of things that happen when people basically very abruptly change their economic activity for a day. And what generally happens is that there's a decrease in how much people work when there's an extreme weather event. Um, and that translates to lower consumer spending and a short-term decrease in sales taxes or a decrease in business revenues. Um, and there is some evidence sometimes that if it's anticipated or announced ahead of time that the extreme weather event, that people will do some precautionary spending. But then over the days that follow, effectively total economic activity returns to what it was. So the extreme weather event just kind of delays when people spend their money and just pushes it into the future a little bit. And so total economic activity doesn't really change at all. And so if I was to look at what's happening today with ice out, the closest like allegory to it or the closest thing to compare it to rather than the general strikes that I alluded to earlier historically would probably be it's probably something more like an extreme weather event in the sense that I do expect it will change where people go and how much money they spend today. But then I do think that its long-term disruption to the economy will prove to probably be pretty minimal.
Is that the same for general strikes that occur on a somewhat regular basis in European countries, for example?
So the general strike literature does find generally when those general strikes happen, that economic activity will abruptly decrease with those general strikes, but then it will also surge and return back to where it would have been. And so usually there's a very quick take up when general strikes have happened in other places. Another example of this that was something kind of like a general strike, at least was the stay at home period that we first had with COVID-19 during the pandemic. And it looked like a massive recession hit the country, right? It looked like we were in like the biggest economic contraction that we had ever seen. And when in the places where that stay at home 2 weeks was really only 2 weeks, the virus spread more quickly as soon as their economies reopened. But economic activity also resurged very, very quickly, despite the fact that there was a very large short-term disruption to those labor markets.
Got it. I think that's really all I was hoping to cover. I'm sorry, it's about to get
Yeah.
really loud because we just happen to be on the street that protesters are walking down right now.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
I don't, I hope my answers, I don't know if those were the answers you're looking for, but
I
those
wasn't
are,
looking for any answers particularly. I was just
yeah.
curious to hear if there is a widespread impact. I guess the one question I do have is how many days would that strike have to continue, that general strike or the disruption of the economy, for this to be a wider impact?
Yeah. I mean, I think that part's a little bit harder to predict. I think it would definitely have to be longer than a single day. And you would have to stretch it into multiple weeks before it would start to have like long-term reverberating effects throughout the economy. Yeah, would be my prediction based upon what we know so far.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.